Welcome to the Beer and Nonsense Podcast, brewed by the Michiana Beer Reviewers, engineered by assistant brewer Kevin Christie. Now, here are your hosts, Christian Milovich and Thad Schmidt.
Our brothers of the brew. I'm Christian Milovich, and I'm cracking a Coors Banquet.
What's going on, guys? Thad here, hanging out with Christian. Actually, we got Pete in the studio tonight, but you know what we're doing?
Cracking it.
Miller
Classic.
High Life, one-time classic beers.
And classic cars we're going to be talking about. Don't forget, our assistant brewer, always behind the board over here, is Kevin Christie, so he may chime in. Pete, welcome.
How's everyone doing tonight?
Oh, having an awesome time. Oh,
Cracking 1-2, Coors Banquet.
So we got classic beers and classic cars because, Pete, you own PJ Customs and you make classic cars.
I do.
You rebuild them.
I do restorations for people, and build whatever, race cars to classic restorations to everything that goes in between. So,
Yeah, no,
Well, talk about, you just did an Avani, so
yeah, Avani 2 actually.
Well-
So it's not a Studebaker car. It's a
I understand that, but it's still South Bend car.
Right, and it's still a South Bend car. Altman Lehman car, and 1973 it was still built on a Studebaker Lark chassis and stuff like that, but that was a car that the motor had been rebuilt and things like that. So when I got it, it was complete, ready to go driver, except it had a bad paint job on it, and so we stripped it down, refinished it, and now it's painted and still waiting on some parts, but
That's great, but all right.
You can actually see it if you go to Michiana Beer Reviewers on Facebook. It's been in the background of a couple of the beer reviews that we've done. I think I did one with you in front of it, and then Thad has done a couple, and then Danny's sitting here behind us as well, Danny boy, and he's been in there for a couple as well. So
for sure he has.
so
Danny waves. I know it's hard to hear, but
So just for the record, I tried to hand the microphone over to him. He gave me that. Fuck no.
well,
that's
what,
Danny
Kevin?
always.
That's my chime in for the day. Sorry,
Danny,
Bob.
how'd that make
perfect.
you feel?
But he'll get in here and talk.
He will. He's a car
Let him
guy.
finish the beer first.
He's a car guy too, so he doesn't have a problem getting in here and talking about cars, stuff like that. So I'm just excited to be here and talk about stuff and drink some old school beers with you guys. And
Coors Banquet.
oh man, this is my beer.
So my wife calls me a beer nerd or beer snob at this point, which I think is completely unfair, just because we went out to a restaurant one time and they were like, we have Bud Light, we have Miller Light, and we have Blue Moon. And I was like, I'll have an iced tea. And she was like, beer snob? And I was like, no, that doesn't make me a beer snob because I love a good Coors Banquet. I love PBR as my go-to cheap beer.
Right. I was drinking some of that today, as a matter of fact.
Good man.
Yeah.
Have you tried the coffee version yet?
I have not.
Nah, we have to.
Okay, we can.
Yeah. So I'm going to PJ Customs to do that.
Nice, let's do it.
All right. Yeah.
I totally want to try that.
Yeah.
You're not invited.
Yeah. No, just Pete and I. While
By the
he's
way,
fixing my car.
As we talk about this, no one likes Pete.
Yes,
So-
that's
I love Pete.
that's standard.
So
Even though he choked me when
fuck
we were a
Pete
kid.
is usually the
Now it's documented.
Yeah, okay.
documented
Forever.
as
On air.
Yeah.
how
on air.
people like Pete, although they still hang around him. But anyways, I'm drinking a Miller High Life champagne and beers. I've been drinking it since I was 12 because that's what I snuck out of my parents' fridge.
Thad, anything brewed by Miller gives me amazing heartburn. I have no clue why. Because I actually enjoy Miller High Life. I think it's a very smooth, very tasty beer, but I get horrible, horrible heartburn from it. And I have no clue.
I don't know either because actually Miller Lite I cannot drink. Immediate hangover.
They have rice in it. Is there rice in?
That's Bud Light.
Oh, it's Bud. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, that's the
Rice beer. My bad.
rice beer of
Bubble gut.
beers.
All right.
Hot snakes.
All right, Pete, I want to transfer back to cars
Okay.
because I've wanted you to build me a car.
Yes.
My wife has not approved of this expense yet, but here it
Prob-
is.
she
I
probably
found
won't.
it.
She
So,
probably won't.
1950 Chevy sedan delivery. There it is.
Oh, yes,
Look at
we
that.
can
Look at
totally
that.
build that.
But what I want to do is when you open up the back, I want room for my kids in the back. Yet when you open up the back, I want taps
Okay, so
Which
Beer
I
taps.
totally want to see.
you're gonna have like 3/6 barrels back there, and you can. Okay.
That sounds perfect.
All right.
Yeah.
We can make that.
Man, look at that. So you know cars. I don't. But I know I like classic cars. Like my wife asked me, she goes, "What's your dream car?" And I was like, "Ash, I don't know." Like, because I've never picked a car in my life. And as we're getting close to my oldest son driving, he's going to take my car. And she said, "Well, what do you want to get?" And I said, "I don't know, like a Chevelle, like a 70s Chevelle." And she was like, "No, because the family still needs to ride in it." And I was like, "How about a delivery sedan?" She was like, "How about something more recent?" And we settled on a Jeep, which I know you're a huge fan of Jeeps. And so
fan.
I want a Wrangler. Like I don't know what kind, but that's what I want. But if I had my dream, this is it.
And you can totally.
So tell people what this is, because
so
people
it-
don't know when I say delivery sedan, they're like, I don't know what you're talking about.
So it's a 2-door panel wagon, no windows in the back. It was strictly used for delivering goods back in the 50s. Pharmacies used them, grocery stores, milk wagons. They just went out and put the goods in the back. They didn't have to have windows back there, so it was a cheaper model than the rest of the vehicles in that fleet.
Do you know when I fell in love with these? So I fell in love with it, and then I fell in love with it. Was the movie Hollywood Nights. There was something called the Pie Wagon. You ever seen it?
Mm-mm.
No? Danny seen it? Okay. How about Thad? You think
Danny's a movie buff.
the Hollywood Nights?
Nope.
No?
Don't see it.
Dang. Okay, we're having a movie night now too.
All right.
Yeah. So it was a.
By the way,
class-
Danny's shaking his head no because he's
Well, he's not
completely
invited.
on video here.
Can we
there's no
please do a narrated movie night where we watch it and people can watch it and listen to our commentary
Oh, that'd be
Oh my
in real
gosh.
time?
Yeah.
Oh my
So we'll
gosh.
Absolutely.
we'll record a 90 or 100-minute episode. We'll pick a classic movie. We'll sit around and drink, and we'll watch the movie and commentate as we go through, like a director's commentary, even though we're not talented enough to be directors.
Yeah.
And you can listen to us watch a movie while you're watching at the same time.
I think it would
I wanna
be
do that right now.
phenomenal.
Okay, I'm out for the day. That was my idea. We'll see you guys.
That's phenomenal. And
So-
the greatest thing about that is it would be funnier by the time than the movies.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we're taking Ubers everywhere after that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So what I was gonna say is, since we're doing classic cars, classic beers,
Yeah.
that first movie should be Smoking the Bandit.
Oh, yes.
Rest in peace.
Eastbound down.
Rest in peace.
Load it up. Am I singing?
Yeah,
Go for it.
Barely.
We're not going to get any
Man.
copyright infringements on that.
Oh,
Trust
yeah,
me on
no,
that.
no,
on that
yeah, no.
rendition, we're good.
They're gonna be like, we
We're
do
good.
not want to claim that.
Just
at
don't put it on
all.
YouTube.
So yeah, no, that's a great call. So I do love the delivery sedan. So here's when I fell in love with it. So I lived in Indianapolis for 8 years of my life, and there was a local burger place that every Friday night did a classic car night. And somebody showed up with one that I just showed you. So I just
Something like
Googled
that, yeah.
1950s. It's a Chevy delivery sedan. This one was red. They did it in all bronze. And I looked at this car and just melted inside. And out of respect for that car, I would never do it all bronze, but I want bronze on it.
I hear you. You told me about that car.
I know.
Yeah.
Because I dream about it still.
And I don't know if it was the paint, and if it was actually paint that they did, or if they had done some kind of bronze. Because you can do like before you coat something with chrome, it has to be done nickel copper. So they could have stopped at the copper phase of that plating process.
Yeah, I don't know.
And
It was
would have looked bronze.
amazing. Like I said, out of respect for that car, I would never bronze it out like they had it, but it was amazing. I have a huge respect for classic cars. Have you ever done like what's his name, Barry White? Recreates classic cars, makes them classic on the outside, but then puts in the AC and regular radio. Have you done like, was that super classic or something like that?
They call them resto mods for the most
Okay.
part. So it's looks like a classic restoration, but it's got all the amenities of a newer car: fuel injection, power steering, power brakes, air conditioning, cruise, all that stuff. That you could drive it every day if you wanted to.
Right.
The problem with doing that is that in the climate that we live, you still can't drive that car every day.
Right.
You got to have a winter beater. And
Sure.
yeah. So
Well,
But
but
it's
the
a-
other thing too is I've been around Pete many years, and that's not what he does. He just
Right.
loves to take those cars. People bring cars. Actually, what I like to see is he doesn't like to. He loves to do those cars, but people love to bring those cars to him. So every winter he's got a huge project.
Right.
Like the Vonnie was a great one.
See, but
The
that
what was that? 51. What was the pickup truck you just did? Like it was a year and a half ago. Was it 50,
no.
54?
46.
Oh, 46?
46 GMC pickup.
Oh man.
And that was completely, we blew the whole thing apart, welded in. We tried to use as much original sheet metal as we could, fixed everything, welded in new panels, fitted it all, and then did it a matte finish in oyster and black. And it's driving around now. He's got it back all together. So.
All right.
It was beautiful.
What is oyster?
Oyster is like a brownish gray.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Like the shell. The oyster
Yeah,
shell.
yeah,
Okay.
very, very well.
All right. Fair.
Fair,
Well,
fair,
as a
fair,
kid,
very
like
fair.
a kid, I mean, the first thing I ever fell in love with was my stepdad's BMW. It was a 635 CSI. It was like a 74, and that thing sounded like an airplane coming down the street. And I may have backed into it.
Oh,
with the Super B.
I have a history of backing into things
No, that was the Daytona.
Oh, Daytona. Oh,
So-
man.
with the sex wax sticker.
Yes.
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 Yeah.
I
You
love
remember
that.
that
Yeah.
car?
Oh, yeah. Do I remember that car? It was parked right at the bottom of my driveway.
Yeah, Dodge Daytona.
So yeah, people don't know this about Thad and I, but he lived right at the bottom of my driveway for I don't know.
Well, not
15,
right.
20 years?
Not right at the bottom.
No, it was right at the bottom of my driveway, not at the bottom of his driveway, but it was right at the bottom of my driveway.
Well, that's
He didn't live
Like
there.
right there in the ditch.
Right
Yeah,
in the
his car-
ditch. Yeah,
his
right.
Car,
Yeah.
His car was there. He didn't live there.
Oh, he didn't live in his car?
Sometimes.
Oh, okay.
He lost it. He lost it a couple
he had
times.
Indiana's only tented ditch. That's where he is.
well, I lived in the house, across from you.
So I wanted a
Sometimes.
sex wax sticker because of you, and I settled for I love my shitty job sticker. So,
Do you still have that sticker?
yeah,
Nice.
it's in my desk drawer at work.
It's on the outside of my door at work.
not outside, not outside. So, but Thad, I was gonna say, I agree that's not what he does. But as a fat guy, I want air conditioning in my car.
Well, I get that, but I mean, I've
Or-
seen things that Pete's done, and I tell you what, the Jeep stuff he does, man.
Ah,
Well,
so
that's why I like the Jeeps, because you don't need AC. You just pull the top off.
There you
yeah.
go.
So I was driving around with my daughter, who really wants me to get a Jeep, the other day because somebody was driving with their doors off, and she goes, "Dad, today would be a perfect day for you to have your Jeep because we could have the top off and the doors off."
Yep, absolutely. It's great. Do it all the time.
I feel like with all the sponsorship dollars we're making with this podcast, we should just get like a team Jeep. Like,
Very-
what's the problem
yes.
with that?
I like that.
Speaking of, if you'd like to sponsor, you can hit us on Twitter at Beer and
Absolutely.
Nonsense Pod.
Nice.
Yeah.
And well, not only Twitter, but if you guys want, we have Instagram and Facebook, which would be great. So, message us
Yeah.
on MBR. And
This is why they don't give me a microphone. That's what they're trying to say.
No. That's perfect. That's perfect.
get back at it.
Yeah, christianm.mbr@gmail.com. So, no, yeah, hit me up anytime. So,
We're pushing for that Jeep, boys. Let's go.
Right.
It's got to be
Or-
brand new, though. Brand new.
Danny,
What,
you
either
want to
that
buy
or-
us a Jeep?
Either that or late
I
70s
gave you a
CJ.
mower. Danny's a muppet over here. So. All right. Anyway, back
Luckily,
to
he's
Jeeps.
on video, so y'all can see that here in a minute. Oh,
Nah, the video's
No,
not running.
it's out.
So, all right. So Jeeps, where did your love from Jeep come from? Because that is, I mean, I know a lot of people who like them, but you love Jeep.
I do love Jeeps, and I have family members that got me involved with that. So my uncle worked for AM General since 1971, and he was director of overseas contracts. So what he would get a company vehicle, and he'd get it to drive for a year or whatever, and he had other projects that he had at home, so we'd go down there, and my cousin and I were the same age, and we'd go down. He'd be like, "You boys go out and put those tires on that Jeep and those tires on that Jeep." And when we were 8 years old, that's we were messing around doing that stuff, and stealing his old Milwaukee Light and borrowing. Well, we rented it.
Right.
Yeah, we rented it. It came back. You know,
in his yard.
Yep.
Yep.
So that's how it all started, and then it just went from there. My mom had Jeeps, and since he had a plethora of parts down there with the 40 Jeeps that he had. Yeah, so
which is like your yard now.
No, it's not. Don't tell
close.
Jill that.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't tell her that. But
well,
she said I needed to build. She said I needed to build. Yeah, she said I needed to build a fence today. She's sitting on the screened-in porch. She's like, "You need to build a fence, so I don't have to look at that." Yeah, I don't have to look at that.
Well, do it.
Well,
maybe
maybe
he can't get the. I mean, you have to get into the body shop, so
Right,
you can't
right.
do that. I mean, the 14 Jeeps that are hanging out there.
there's not 14.
So tell people a
Well,
little bit.
now there's one more because Dan just got one. So
Oh,
Nice,
15.
Dan. He's good at bringing things over and just leaving them in your yard, isn't he? One thing, no,
On the
and a
grass.
tractor, 2 tractors on the way
You
to my
driving on the
house,
grass,
a
Dan?
grill.
So since
4
he doesn't
grills.
want to speak on the microphone, I should just do it for him.
Yeah,
really
I
quick.
agree.
very good.
So every time he makes a gesture, I'll be like, no. Yes.
Yes. Hey, Kevin,
No.
that's perfect place for you
Actually,
right
yes, Kevin, you should do that.
Yeah.
'Cause
Dan
wife-
says thumbs up.
This is
my wife
Dan takes
yells
a
at him all
drink.
the time when he drives his Jeep or truck on my grass.
now. Okay, speaking of driving Jeeps on the grass, I was here for a cookout this spring, and you drove a Jeep truck, and my jaw fell off when you pulled up.
Oh, the honcho.
What is that?
The honcho.
Okay, so that's 1983 J10 Honcho sport side truck, which they made from 80 to 83, and they made 1,260 of them.
So you saying 83 right now is blowing my mind, because if I looked at that truck driving down the road, I would say that was older than 83. The body style looks far older than 83.
They never changed the body style from the 60s when they came out. All the parts are interchangeable. There's some things they changed, the way the door hinges worked, how the latches worked on the doors on the A-pillar, but for the most part, everything fits from the 60s through the 80s.
And what's cool about that is not only you can do that, but man, I mean, the patina on that thing that you have, if you go on PJ Customs on Facebook,
you can see it on Facebook.
you can see those pictures. Man, he cleared that thing. It is sweet as heck.
Matte clear. So
I
it's
know.
not shiny.
Well,
You don't want it
exactly.
shiny.
Yep. But the thing is, I can't believe every time Pete and I drive around in that, I don't ever get to drive it, but
Fair.
well, but he knows about.
Dan
But
says
anyways.
absolutely fair.
But when we drive around, people stare at that truck all
Yeah.
the time.
I did. Like I said, my jaw fell off. You pulled down into his yard, and I was just like,
What
I
is
want
that?
that right now. And yeah, what is that?
Yeah, what is that?
Right.
So I had a guy,
It's mean looking.
Chick-fil-A drive-through, and I'm sitting there, and he totally damn near hops in the Jeep with me. His whole upper body is through the passenger side window, and he's like, "Man, this is so great! I haven't seen one of these in decades." And it's like, "Man, you scared the shit out of me right now. You're lucky."
Did he buy you a 12-piece?
No, he didn't. He should have.
Son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch. No,
Should've
but
bought
it's
a
a cool Jeep, and it's got a later model fuel injected small block Chevy in it. So you turn the key, it fires up, you drive it anywhere, it goes 70 mile an hour down the highway. It's just a fun thing to have, but it's an old Radley 1983 Jeep. That's how they are.
Well, you say old and randomly, I see beautiful, amazing trucks. So
Absolutely.
And so, okay, now explain another thing to me, because when I told some friends at work that I was going to get a Jeep, now I'm talking about a Jeep that I'm going to drive to and from work. I told you the only thing I want is blacked out wheels. I love the blacked out wheels on a Jeep. What did he just
Dan
do?
rolled his
Dan
eyes.
is giving disgust.
Yeah, Dan is giving disgust.
Dan, this is my podcast. You can leave anytime you want.
Dan is walking away.
He's not.
Dan came back for another beer.
But that's the only thing. I love blacked out wheels. Actually, on most cars, I love blacked out wheels. But, like, somebody said, well, you have to be a mechanic to own one of those. Why did they say that to me?
A lot of people think that Jeep stands for just empty every pocket, which it does. Dan can attest. He's got a couple of them as well.
Dan nods.
Dan nods in agreement. They require work.
But what makes them require work?
Well,
is it
if
because
you're-
people put so many? Because Thad was just talking about somebody, they want to put this tire on it, put this, do this to that. Is that what makes it mean more work?
Sometimes, and then sometimes people beat the shit out of them and never do any preventative maintenance, and then they think that it's going to last forever. They think it's a tank, and then it just fails. So it's like it's a mechanical thing. It's they all require maintenance to work well, and if you don't put that into it, then it's not going to last.
Okay, so I'm gonna say another thing. You ready to tell what?
Well, I was just gonna say. So when the machines take over the world, is what you're trying to tell me is when the machines take over the world and we're Terminator style, we just hide the oil. Is that what we do when we win?
You can, yeah.
Okay,
hide the oil.
Let's keep that a secret.
All right,
we hide the
just
oil
between us four,
and we beat all the machines. That's all I got.
Yeah. Okay.
Dan agrees.
Okay. All right. So I want a 4-door so I can still drive around my kids. I'm not. Yeah.
Dan, he just does not
Just
like that
roll-
idea
roll.
whatsoever. If you're going to get a Jeep, you don't go 4-door.
Right.
Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
I'm speaking way out of turn because I don't even think Dan's saying that, but I'm just going to interject on that one.
Nice.
So I want a 4-door because I want my kids to be able to ride with me with the doors off and all
many
that.
kids do you
Super
have?
safe. 3.
So you can fit 3 in the back on
And by the time I get my Jeep, my oldest will be over 13 years old, so he can ride in the front with me.
He can walk at that point.
Well, that's true. He's gonna have his own car, mine.
Does he have a bike?
Yeah, a nice one. So, but I want to afford it. I'm going to drive it to and from work. I'm going to do what I normally do with it, other than my little car currently can't get up the driveway unless I shovel it in the winter. The Jeep's going to get up the driveway without me needing to shovel it.
It will.
Dan is
Am I-
saying probably 60% of the time, maybe 75. and
Maybe he just. Oh, here
He's going to talk.
Oh, Dan's gonna talk.
That's pretty much up to the driver on that one, whether you make it or not. So
I got my driveway down.
just for the record, we peaked big time on that.
I tried to back off the mic. Sorry. So, but am I looking at more maintenance fees in me driving it as an everyday vehicle as I'm going to?
No.
Okay.
No. If you drive it every day, that's where it's going to be a normal vehicle. When you abuse it and take it off road, everyone, let's go mudding, let's splash through all these mud puddles, and then your alternator gets packed with mud and it fails, and then your radiator gets packed with mud and the engine overheats, and then you break the engine and have to replace it or things like that. You just, if you use it like an everyday vehicle, it's fine. If you can use it and you can go mudding like that too, or that's what everyone wants to do now. But you have to do maintenance after that. You have to wash the radiator out.
Right.
You have to wash the engine compartment. You have to wash the undercarriage. And it's my thought on that was always you get an hour of fun and 4 hours or 5 hours of cleanup after the fact. So
I understood about 70% of what you just said.
That's fine.
So, but what I did understand was I can tell my friends at work, nana boo boo, stick your head in doo doo, because I can drive my Jeep every day.
You can.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's going to rust out. It's going to rust out.
It's going to rust out.
They all do. Everything does. Cars are designed to fail anymore. They want you to have them 10 years.
Right.
And they want you to move on.
But you can add things to stop that from happening, right? Like, I don't want
you
to say
Oh,
the
that
name.
doesn't look good.
You can repair the rust, and it will last as long as I can make it last. But then it's gonna if you continue to drive it in the winter in the salt that we have around here, it's gonna kill it.
But there's companies who provide coatings to help prevent that. That doesn't work?
It does totally.
Okay.
There are
you
companies.
told me Z-Bart,
Yeah.
that was
See, I was trying not to say that.
Yeah, I knew where you're getting.
Sorry.
But you
Again,
can
if you'd like
do.
to sponsor this podcast.
Right. Christian
Z-Bart, if they
MBR
want to sponsor this podcast, we will.
There are if
totally
you have a
talk to
new
you, but-
if you have a new vehicle and you take it in and have it sprayed, and what they'll do is they'll drill holes in the fenders, in the quarter panels, and in the back side of the doors, and they'll stick a 36-inch wand in there that's got a tip that sprays in all over fashion at the end of it, and they put this tar substance on the inside of the doors and everything else, and it will help. But you know, all it takes
Maybe
is
the people at work were right.
all it takes is one little piece of dirt to get in there and cut through that
Rub it
coating.
raw.
So it's
Yeah,
gonna rust
rub
out
it raw.
more than like the
No,
car,
no,
my
no.
little car out there. No, okay.
No.
No.
So the coating that prevents rusting is essentially just delaying it.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean,
yeah.
that's essentially all it does.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's delaying the process that's inevitably going to happen
Right.
in this climate.
Right.
Okay, that's fair.
Well,
You-
not doing that.
But you're cool with it, right?
No,
Dan-
I
Dan's-
am.
Dan's good to go.
I was gonna say it's preventative, not rust proofing. So it
Right.
slows it down.
Roger.
That's all it does.
That's what he just said, Dan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Dan was.
We finally got Dan on the
Hey,
mic.
Dan-
Shut him
Dan,
down.
Dan talks
Dan-
in layman's terms, so
I like it.
I can understand things.
I love that Dan is actually talking.
Yeah.
So.
Instead, it doesn't.
But anyways,
Although I did like the narration part of this. This
I
is
did
good.
too. I did too. That was bringing me a lot of joy. Go back to that, Dan.
He says, okay.
All right.
so we talked a lot about Jeeps. We talked a lot about, you know, Pete doing some restorations. I mean, you guys have no idea. I've been with Pete for.
Not with.
No, he's been with. I've seen it from a
Hey,
distance.
I've been with Pete for a long time.
So Pete,
Wow,
if
we went
somebody
awry.
wanted you to rebuild, if they have a rusted out, old blown out piece of a classic car and they wanted you to rebuild it for them, how would they let you know that?
They could get a hold of me at PJ's Customs on Facebook, and then
you go.
I've got an email address there, and you could get a hold of me. Or
There you go.
I don't advertise because you don't. If you do the work correctly and people see what you do,
Yeah.
you don't have to advertise.
Yep.
So
Exactly. So this dude's booked. I mean, I love Pete, but he's booked crap load of time. So I tell you what, if you want something done like that, I'd
He's
get
gonna
on
do it
him.
the best.
I get on the schedule now. So
Yep. Yep. I mean, I even banged up my own, my wife's personal car, and the first person I turned to was Pete, and he was like, "Yeah, I could fix this." I wouldn't, but I could. And my wife said, "Yes, no, you're fixing this." So he said, "I'll squeeze you in." But I know that's a gift. Like, to have a friend like Pete is a gift, because everything that you've turned out of that garage, I'm just blown away by, man.
thanks, I appreciate that. That's the best part of the whole job, is that when someone brings you something that they're not happy with and you give it back to them, and the smile on everyone's face is just like you gave them the best present, you know. And I only do stuff if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it the way I would want to do it myself, so I'm gonna make it look that way.
That's honest.
And so that's my goal.
Yeah.
and everything's beautiful.
Yep.
I mean, seriously.
Well, they say the second biggest purchase or investment you make in your life
Is a
normally
car.
your vehicle.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when you can turn out not just a useful tool to get to where you need to go in life and what you're doing daily, but something that really resonates with people in their past. I mean, that's what you're doing. You're giving them their childhood back.
Absolutely.
You're giving them their 18-year-old self again.
Right.
And that's
Or like me, the 25-year-old who fell in love with a car at a burger place.
exactly. Or that life you never had.
Right.
Right.
Because life got in the way, and you're like, now I can get it. Now I can go back, and I can actually have that thing that takes me back to 22. Like, that's an amazing gift that you have to be able to pass on to other people. That's amazing.
We did that a couple years ago. It didn't turn out exactly how we wanted it to, but we rebuilt a 79 CJ5 Renegade, and we were going to document the whole process, and we had started to, and we were going to put it on eBay, show what was done to the vehicle, show how we went through the restoration process, and put all the factory decals on it and everything, and made it look just like how it should. And then a guy that we know walked into the garage, and he's like, "What are you doing with this cute thing over here?" And he said, "Let me have a beer." And so we sat there and shot the shit and had a beer. And he walked over and looked at the Jeep, and he came back over and he goes, "Man, that thing's nice." And he goes, "Let me have another beer." And so he came back over, had another beer, walked back over to it again, and he said, "Man, how much you guys want for this?" And we gave him a number, and he said, "Well, I'm going to go get you guys some earnest money." It wasn't even done yet.
Wow.
So it was sold before we didn't even finish it.
So I didn't know. I had to look it up right now. So this looks like a Jeep that should be crawling across a beach somewhere.
Oh, the Renegade. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Jeeps too, just because it's amazing.
Uh-huh.
That is a good Jeep. That's
I tell you what, I wasn't into Jeeps till I was 14. Met this guy, Pete, and then met his family. Went through Uncle John's I guess the cemetery of Jeeps.
Cemetery of Jeeps. He does have a cemetery of Jeeps.
Cemetery Jeep. Yeah.
I fell in love
Yeah.
and been in love ever since.
So if you want to get on the schedule for Pete, you can go to PJ Customs on Facebook. You can send him a message. He'll be able to hook up with everything. If you want more of the Michiana Beer Reviewers, you can check us out on Facebook at beerreviewers.com because we are the beer reviewers. So at beerreviewers.com. You can also see more on Instagram and then check out the Beer and Nonsense podcast on Twitter and as well on our Facebook group.
Yeah, and you can subscribe, obviously. And Dan is looking at me like, hit the subscribe button right now on iTunes.
Yep.
You're going to love it. So you can
Come on, Dan.
He just said,
Do it. He
thumbs
did it.
up,
He did it.
subscribe.
Yeah, he got it. He got it.
It's a purple button. You can hit it.
So say hi, Dan.
All right. So
Why, does what's purple have to do with it?
Just so they can find it quicker.
Oh.
yeah.
It could be blue. I
So-
don't know. Who cares?
One thing that I do know, because every time I show up at PJ Custom
Can I have another beer?
get him another beer, another classic. So
We got a post-show.
Not only will there be classic cars, but there's going to be classic beer. There will always be some beer hanging around at PJ Customs as well.
Well, not necessarily.
If
but
Danny was just there.
If you bring beer, there's usually beer hanging around. So
There's beer there now. Don't let Dan bullshit you.
Yeah. So
sometimes there's not beer and you have to bring it.
let's wrap this one up. So Pete, thank you so much for joining us here on the Beer and Nonsense podcast because there is no nonsense about classic cars.
Oh, I'm glad you guys love them.
So I absolutely love them. So I might not be a whole lot of a guy, but I have the classic car guy side of me. So, all right. So I think it's time to say cheers. So I'm Christian. I'm going to say cheers. Thad?
Thad? Cheers, Christian. Kevin?
Cheers.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to the Beer and Nonsense podcast. Please rate, review, and subscribe. Like the guys on Twitter and follow their Facebook group. Enjoy the Michiana Beer Reviewers beer reviews on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Until next time, cheers.